There is a moment in our lives when we laugh off a small insult, a sly comment, a jab our direction. We stay silent to keep the peace and tell ourselves it was nothing. Just a joke. Don't be a buzzkill and ruin it for everyone. We think, we can take this one for the team. But the world rarely sees tolerance as dignity. The world isn't civilized enough for it. It's a jungle here. We don't see claws or canines. We don't see teeth digging into flesh. But rest assured, predation happens just the same. The world more often sees permission as invitation. And once people learn they can disrespect you without consequence, they do not stop at one insult. They crown you in their minds as the one who can be mocked safely, who can be laughed at, who can be crowned as the fool. And that is the moment the crown becomes a curse. Because disrespect is not just words. Disrespect is a social verdict. It is a signal fired into the air that says, this person can be pushed. And when a group believes you can be pushed, you stop being treated like a person with boundaries, and you start being treated like a tool. This is when we trade our dignity for acceptance. When we sign the quiet psychological contract that reads, we tolerate contempt. So let's map out the consequences of tolerating disrespect, how those consequences appear in real life, and what to do the moment disrespect shows up. And yes, we are going to talk about punishment. Not violence, not chaos, not revenge fantasies. We're talking about consequences, controlled, lawful, socially intelligent consequences that teach other people what it costs to cross your line. Because in human groups, the line that is never defended stops being a line. It becomes an invitation. Keep in mind the following words: political intelligence. To know how to use the tools in your arsenal. This is a level above emotional intelligence. This is what separates the following 99% from the leading 1%. Machiavelli understood this long before the modern world discovered new ways to name it. He warned leaders that security isn't built on hope. It's built on controlled fear and clear boundaries. He even notes that fear is one of the only things a leader can control, and that a prince can be secure even without love, as long as he is not hated. In the modern world, we hear the word fear, and we associate it with violence. We associate it with monsters. Yet fear is just a tool in the arsenal. It is a defense mechanism the human psyche uses for survival. Fear of consequence brings order into chaos. Understand this now. Bring about controlled order in a situation and you survive. Don't, and you invite chaos. You invite ruin in your own situation. Machiavelli wrote The Prince for leaders, not just of nations and of empires, but leaders who did not hope for order, leaders who engineered it. People don't need to love us to treat us with basic respect. They only need to believe we are not safe to mistreat. So let's start with the first truth. Disrespect is rarely accidental. Sometimes it's disguised as humor. Sometimes it's disguised as, I'm just being honest. Sometimes it's disguised as, relax, it's not that deep. But the psychology underneath is usually the same. A test. Human beings test each other constantly. We test status, we test boundaries, we test reactions, we test emotional control. We do it at work, in friendships, in family, in relationships, and especially in groups where laughter is a weapon. And here is the brutal part. The first test is usually small on purpose. It's a probe, a toe over the line, a subtle jab, a joke at your expense. Because the person testing you is gathering data. If you smile and swallow it, they learn this person will trade self-respect for group comfort. If you get emotional and explode, they learn this person can be controlled by a button. If you stay calm and correct it, they learn this person has a line, and enforcing it doesn't cost them their composure. That calm correction is what most people never practice, and that's why disrespect escalates. Machiavelli has a principle that translates perfectly into social life. Problems must be handled when they first appear, not after they grow teeth. He warns that if you are on the spot, disorders are seen as they spring up and can be dealt with quickly. But if you delay, you hear about them only when it's too late. Disrespect works the same way. A small insult left unchallenged becomes a pattern. A pattern becomes your reputation, and your reputation becomes the script people use on you. So what are the consequences of tolerating disrespect? Let's lay them out clearly. First consequence, we get labeled. Not out loud, not formally, but internally in the minds of others. Groups assign roles: the leader, the entertainer, the peacemaker, the smart one, the threat, the weak link, the scapegoat. When we tolerate disrespect, we drift toward the role nobody wants: the safe target. The safe target is the person who can be teased without risk, the person who can be blamed because they won't push back, the person whose boundaries are blurry enough that people can step on them and still feel morally clean. And once we are labeled as the safe target, people don't feel guilty disrespecting us. They feel comfortable. That's what the clown image represents. Not a costume, a social label. Second consequence, disrespect spreads. This part is vicious, but it's predictable. When one person disrespects you in public and gets away with it, everyone watching receives a signal. It's allowed. Even people who like you will unconsciously adjust. They might not insult you, but they will stop treating you like a man who must be taken seriously. They will talk over you a little more. They will forget your opinion a little faster. They will assume you can wait. They will assume you can take it. This is how a single, tolerated insult becomes a social downgrade. Third consequence. Our nervous system becomes trained for submission. This is the part nobody talks about. When we tolerate disrespect repeatedly, we teach our body a habit. Freeze, swallow, smile, endure. And the body learns faster than the mind. So later, even when we want to stand up for ourselves, we hesitate. The throat tightens. The smile appears. The brain produces excuses. Not worth it. Don't ruin the vibe. Be the bigger person. And we call it maturity. But it isn't maturity. It's conditioning. Fourth consequence. We attract predators, opportunists, and parasites. This is where the world gets dark. People who disrespect us are not always evil. Sometimes they're insecure. Sometimes they're performing. Sometimes they're careless. But predators, real predators, look for patterns. They look for the man who apologizes too easily. They look for the man who avoids conflict at any cost. They look for the man who won't enforce a consequence. Why? Because a predictable man is a controllable man. And once we become controllable, we become useful. We become the guy who does favors, the guy who lends money, the guy who gets handed the messy work, the guy who gets blamed when something goes wrong, the guy who gets joked about to bond the group together. And that leads to the fifth consequence. Fifth consequence. We become the group's glue by being the group's punching bag. This is one of the ugliest social mechanisms: scapegoating. Groups relieve tension by sacrificing someone's dignity. And if we tolerate it, we volunteer. Now, at this point, many of us want to believe a comforting lie. If I just stay calm and kind, they'll respect me eventually. No. Respect is not a charity program. Respect is a cost-benefit calculation happening inside other people's heads. Machiavelli said it directly in his own brutal way when discussing loyalty and human behavior. People are fickle, and love is fragile, but fear of consequences tends to remain effective. We don't have to become feared in a theatrical way. We don't need intimidation. We don't need to become a bully. But we do need to become costly to disrespect. So now we ask, how does disrespect appear? It shows up in patterns. It can be overt, insults, mocking, humiliating jokes, shouting, name-calling. But more often in adult life, it's covert and polite. They cut you off repeatedly. They talk over your answer and then repeat it as if it was their idea. They forget your invite, your message, your contribution. They make you the butt of a joke in front of others, then hide behind, relax. They test your boundaries with small violations, being late, changing plans last minute, borrowing things without asking, speaking to you with casual contempt. And each time the same question is being asked. What happens if I do this to him? That's all disrespect really is. A question. So our job becomes simple. We must answer the question clearly. Now let's talk strategy. We need a system, not a mood. Because if we only defend ourselves when we feel confident, we will fold when we're tired, stressed, or caught off guard. So we need a structure we can run even when our emotions are loud. Machiavelli used the metaphor of two natures, the man and the beast, law and force, and warned that relying on only one is not durable. In modern life, force doesn't mean violence. It means firmness. It means consequences. It means escalation. Law is our calm words. Force is our calm action. We must have both. Here is the first rule of handling disrespect. We do not negotiate our dignity in real time. Most people lose the moment they start explaining. They get disrespected, and then they start defending themselves, justifying, proving, pleading. That explanation is often the language of the low-status position. The higher-status move is simple. Name it, set the line, attach the consequence. Short, calm, final. And we do it early, when the disrespect is small, because that's when it's cheapest to correct. Now let's build the response ladder. Level 1. The pause. When someone throws a disrespectful comment, the first weapon is not a comeback. It's silence. Silence creates social pressure. It makes the disrespect hang in the air. It forces the group to feel it. In your mind, think, we are not rushing to save them from the awkwardness they created. Hold eye contact for 1 extra second. Let the room hear the insult echo. This alone will stop many people, because most disrespect is a performance, and performers hate silence. Level 2. The calm correction. We use a simple phrase with no emotion. Don't speak to me like that. We're not doing that. I'm not the one for that joke. Say it again. What did you mean by that? That last one is deadly, because it forces them to either admit cruelty or retreat. Notice what we are not doing. We are not insulting them back. We are not escalating emotionally. We are not performing anger. We are simply drawing the line. Level 3. The boundary plus consequence. If it continues, we attach cost. If you keep talking like that, I'm done with this conversation. If you do that again in this meeting, I'll address it with HR. If you're going to mock me, we're not hanging out. Then, and this is everything, we must actually do it. Because a consequence that is announced but never enforced destroys our credibility faster than silence. This is where most people fail. They threaten. They don't act. They get laughed at. So we don't threaten. We state policy. Level 4. Social punishment. Now we enter the real Machiavellian territory. Not cruelty, but controlled discipline. Machiavelli describes how excessive mercy can create disorder, while a limited number of severe punishments can create stability. In social life, the severe punishment is not harm. It's removal. We remove access. We remove warmth. We remove proximity. We remove opportunity. We stop giving them our attention. We stop answering quickly. We stop inviting them. We stop sharing information. We stop offering help. We stop being useful. This is what real punishment is. We cut off benefits. Because most disrespectful people continue not because they hate us, but because we're convenient. When convenience ends, disrespect often ends too. Level 5. Public clarity when necessary. Sometimes disrespect happens publicly, and if we handle it privately every time, the group still sees us as the safe target. So occasionally, we need public clarity. Not shouting, not humiliation, just a calm statement in front of the audience. That's not acceptable. Let's keep it professional. We're not doing personal shots here. Then we move on, as if it's already settled. That move on is important. It signals authority. It signals that the line is not a debate. Now, why do we keep saying calm? Because emotional explosion is also a loss. If we rage, we look reactive. We look triggered. And triggers are handles. There's a line in your notes that captures this perfectly. If someone can hijack our nervous system, we are not free. And when we explode, we reveal our buttons. So we aim for cold enforcement, not because we are emotionless, but because we are strategic. Now let's talk about the mercy problem. People love saying, be the bigger person. Let it go. Don't stoop to their level. Sometimes that's wise, when the disrespect is truly meaningless and the person has no influence on our life. But most of the time, that phrase is used to keep the peace of the group at the cost of our dignity. And here is the harsh truth. Groups will always prefer the person who absorbs the pain over the person who creates tension. So when we stay classy while being disrespected, the group may praise our patience, while quietly downgrading our status. We become the clown who smiles through humiliation. And then, later, the group uses us again. This is why Machiavelli's logic about injuries matters. He wrote that men should either be well treated or crushed, because lighter injuries can be avenged, but serious ones cannot. Meaning halfway measures create enemies and repeated problems. Again, we are not applying this literally. We are translating it. The lesson is, do not do halfway boundaries. Do not give light consequences that teach people they can keep trying. One clear consequence, early, prevents 1,000 small humiliations later. A swift correction is less painful than a slow degradation. That is the irony. Enforcing a boundary early is often the most merciful thing we can do, for ourselves and even for the group, because it prevents disorder. Now, how do we punish disrespect without becoming hated? This is crucial, because Machiavelli also warns that being hated is dangerous. A leader can be feared, but must avoid hatred. So the punishment must follow 3 rules. Rule 1. It must be proportionate. If someone makes a mild, disrespectful joke, we don't launch a nuclear war. We correct it. We make it awkward. We remove warmth. Proportion is what makes us look reasonable, and reasonable strength is the most intimidating kind. Rule 2. It must be consistent. If we enforce boundaries only sometimes, people gamble. They think, maybe today he won't react. Consistency kills gambling. Rule 3. It must be clean. No messy speeches, no emotional essays, no long explanations, no back and forth. A clean consequence looks like discipline, not drama. Machiavelli praises decisive, swift methods when securing control, and warns against letting problems linger. Social discipline is the same. Now let's make this practical with scenarios. Scenario 1. The social circle disrespect. Someone makes you the punchline. The mistake most of us make is trying to win the room back with humor. We laugh louder. We self-deprecate. We play along. And for a moment, it feels like we avoided tension. But what we actually did was sign a contract. I am available as entertainment. So next time, they do it again, because it worked. The better move is simple. We pause. We stare. We let it sit. Then we say, we're not doing that. And we go quiet again. If they push, relax. We respond, I am relaxed. I'm also not the one for that. Then we change subject, or we walk away to get a drink, or we speak to someone else. Walking away is powerful because it's a consequence without a speech. Scenario 2. Workplace disrespect. A colleague undermines you in a meeting. They cut you off, mock your idea, talk down to you. Here we keep it professional, but we still enforce. We say, let me finish. Or, we can disagree without the tone. If they continue, we'll discuss this after the meeting. Then we do, privately. And if it becomes a pattern, we document and escalate appropriately. Punishment in the workplace often looks like exclusion from collaboration, formal complaint, or removing access to our time and help. Scenario 3. Relationship disrespect. This one destroys people quietly because we confuse love with tolerance. We think enduring disrespect proves loyalty. It doesn't. It proves availability. So we enforce the same ladder but with more clarity. We don't speak to each other like that. If you insult me, the conversation ends. Then we end it. Immediately. No arguing, no chasing, no pleading. And if it continues repeatedly, the punishment becomes distance, emotional and physical, because intimacy is a privilege, not a right. Now, let's address the fear many of us have. If we stand up for ourselves, won't we lose people? Yes, sometimes we will. But the question is, who are we losing? We are losing people who benefited from our lack of boundaries. We are losing people who enjoyed the convenience of disrespecting us. And that loss is not a tragedy. It is a cleaning. This is where we need to think like a strategist. We need to understand that the world is divided into players and pieces, and the difference is leverage, not intentions. Tolerating disrespect is the behavior of a piece. Enforcing boundaries is the behavior of a player. And once we shift into player mode, some people will no longer find us useful. They will leave. That is the price of dignity. Now, let's talk about why disrespect happens in the first place. There are usually 4 motives. 1. Dominance testing. They are checking if they can outrank you socially. 2. Social bonding. They're using you as the sacrifice to make others laugh. 3. Insecurity projection. They feel small, so they try to reduce you. 4. Opportunism. They want access, control, or advantage. Knowing the motive matters because it tells us the right punishment. Dominance testers respect strength. Social bonders fear awkwardness and social consequence. Insecure projectors collapse when confronted calmly. Opportunists disappear when benefits are removed. This is why the same response doesn't work for everyone. We need to be both lion and fox, strong and cunning, because the lion can't see traps, and the fox can't fight wolves. Now, we need to address the most dangerous trap, trying to be liked. Because the need to be liked is what makes us tolerate disrespect. We swallow the insult because we fear social rejection. And that fear is the leash. Validation is a high-status/low-status dynamic. The one seeking approval places themselves lower. So part of becoming undisrespectable is killing that hunger. Not becoming cold for no reason, becoming self-contained. Because if we can be lifted by praise, we can be destroyed by insult. And disrespectful people know that. They throw a jab, then watch your face. They watch if you crumble. They watch if you perform. So we become unreadable. We don't give them a show. Now we also have to be careful with one more thing: over-explaining and over-apologizing. A lot of men sabotage their status by apologizing for taking up space. An unnecessary apology is a submission signal. This matters because disrespect often escalates when people smell submission. So we replace sorry with thank you when appropriate, and we speak in statements, not pleas. We don't say, sorry, but can you not? We say, don't. Short. Clean. Now, what does it mean to punish disrespect properly? Here is the adult version of punishment. Punishment is removing rewards. If someone disrespects us and still gets our laughter, our attention, our favors, our access, our warmth, we rewarded disrespect. So we stop rewarding it. We become boring to disrespect. We become costly to disrespect. We become unavailable to disrespect. That is punishment. Machiavelli tells leaders not to fear being called cruel if the result is peace and loyalty. In modern life, enforcing boundaries will sometimes make us look harsh. Good. Let the weak call discipline harsh. We are not here to be comfortable for everyone. We are here to be respected. Now, I want to add something personal, because this is where the lesson becomes real. I had a friend years ago, and it could be any of us in any kind of circle, who was always the agreeable one. Funny, helpful, always trying to keep the mood light. At first, people loved him. Then slowly, the jokes started sliding toward him. Small digs, teasing, nicknames. He laughed them off because he didn't want to be that guy. Then one night in a crowded room, someone went too far. A direct insult disguised as humor. The room laughed. He smiled. He swallowed. And in that moment you could see it. Something changed in how people looked at him. Not hate, just permission. After that, the disrespect became normal. It became tradition. He became part of the furniture. And the saddest part is that if he had corrected it early, when it was small, none of it would have grown. That's the tragedy. Most men don't lose respect all at once. They leak it away. One swallowed insult at a time. So here is the final framework we walk away with. We treat respect like territory. If territory is invaded and we do nothing, the invader returns with more force. So we defend early. We defend calmly. We defend consistently. We punish by removing rewards. We avoid hatred by being proportionate and clean. We become both lion and fox, strong enough to be untested and smart enough to see the trap. And we remember this: we don't need everyone to love us. We just need the world to understand that disrespect is expensive. Because when we tolerate disrespect, we don't keep the peace. We teach people how to treat us. And if we teach them that we can be mocked safely, they will crown us as the fool. So if the title of this video is "Never Tolerate Disrespect or You Will Be This Guy," the real meaning is deeper. Never tolerate disrespect, because the first insult you allow becomes the future you live inside. And now we close with a question that decides everything. The next time it happens, the joke, the jab, the tone, the slight, what will we protect? Their comfort or our dignity? Because in the end, the world doesn't reward the man who endures humiliation quietly. It rewards the man who sets a standard and enforces it. If we want to go deeper in the next video, we'll talk about the most dangerous form of disrespect. The kind that looks like friendship, but is actually containment. The subtle sabotage, the passive aggression, the smile that hides a knife. But for now, remember the rule. We don't beg for respect. We build it. We enforce it. And we never again volunteer to be the clown in someone else's room.
If you haven't already, please like, share, and comment for support, and subscribe for future videos.